Maybe.
We did it. It's
We're
always
live.
a miracle when we
All
make
right.
it live. Hello, everyone. Renee Funk with Leadership from the Heart and Elizabeth Riley. How are you, friend?
Hello, my sweet friend. I'm good. Happy Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay, good.
I actually thought it
know.
was Wednesday earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to jump in the shower really quick because it's not Wednesday. So, yeah.
Well, it is an awesome day, though, however, because we are joined with a guest today that I know we've both been very excited to speaking with, Courtney Chakarun, the CMO of eXp World Holdings. Welcome to eXp World Holdings and welcome today to Leadership from the Heart.
Thank you. I was so excited to find out about this program. I started watching different episodes and I'm very thankful to be on it. So appreciate the invite.
Well, we are super excited to have you and to have you at our company. I mean, you've just been kind of thrown in there, and do you feel like you're drinking from a fire hose?
It is an interesting environment. And, I'd mentioned before, very briefly about, how I joined. And, I came in as an avatar probably in April and started connecting with different leadership members and got the offer. And so it's basically surreal. I mean, that's the best way of describing it. There's people that, I've met with that I've never actually seen them outside of their avatar figures. And it's amazing how equalizing that is. So yeah, it's way different than I expected. I also didn't expect to feel this much connection, right? We had mentioned if you don't see people, but when you do, you recognize them. I'm finding that to be true when we go into different venues like this.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because we've been in meetings in avatars with you, and today's the first time we actually get to meet you face to face, but I feel like we've just known you already, and so it's one of those things I think is really surprising to a lot of people is, from the outside looking in, people are like, there is no way you can have connection or culture with avatars. Like, how are you going to make that happen? And then when you actually submerge yourself into our environment, it's literally and figuratively a whole nother world. And it's
absolutely
it's so much fun. So I get super excited of meeting new people and running into people from Canada and the UK and running into our leadership. So you guys are running around in your avatars in our world too, which is pretty cool.
It's fun. It's so real that I remember about 2 weeks ago, a member of my team was in my virtual office. And keep in mind, that just means she's somewhere else on her computer, right? And she goes, okay, when I find the study, I'll send it to you. And the meeting ended and all of a sudden I got the study and I thought, how did she get back to her office and computer so quickly? Like, it really does make you think that that's what's happening. And it's like superpowers, you're running around the world, and it's fun. It's also, I think where people might be a little shy, it creates an environment where, you're not judged on your appearance. It's very equalizing. People can have voices. So people that might not have spoken up before, a lot of that kind of pressure is off of them to be able to feel, not judged and be able to talk their talk.
I'd never really thought of it that way. That's a great reminder, the equalizing aspect of it. I never really thought of it.
It's a good segue for those who are starting to dip their toe in the pond of maybe public speaking or speaking in front of a room, because you do have an added layer of, well, I could be at the leadership meeting in my pajamas. Yes. I don't know who would have ever done that before, but it happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
So Courtney, share with us your background. Tell us about yourself, and would love to hear a little of the story of how you first learned about eXp Realty.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I went to the University of Arkansas for my undergrad and my MBA, and to give you an idea of how closely I was connected, and still, I still am, to Arkansas, is that if you take a look at my mom's house in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where the University of Arkansas is, within 2 miles of my mother's house, I went to preschool, kindergarten, grade school, high school, undergrad, and graduate school. So it was one of those things where, not a lot of people that stay there that long, leave. I was very excited to be able to do different things. And that was the catalyst for my first role. I started with GE and GE Capital and ended up staying for about 15 years. And one of the reasons was I appreciated, one, the people and the culture, but also every year and a half, I was moving somewhere else. I moved 8 times in 15 years, whether it was different countries, different cities like New York. It allowed me to experience quite a lot and really kind of dig my heels in when it comes to doing marketing, data analytics, digital. These are all things that are really important, and consumer finance and retail. So that's kind of where I get the consumer finance and retail legs to what my experience is. My second role, I've only worked for, I mean, this might be my fourth company. I really tend to, stay places and appreciate where I am. The second group I went to was CoreLogic. They're a property data company, and they're across really the housing ecosystem. They operate in real estate, rental, mortgage, insurance, and capital markets. And so you get to see how data is used by even the government, Fannie and Freddie, how it's used in different ways, which was exciting for me to be able to explore another industry that is also connected to consumer finance. So there for about 5 years, leading marketing and innovation. Innovation is essentially just a fancy word for hardcore strategic planning with a SWAT team to test some of the ideas we have. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. And it was fun. It's really fun. And, of course, being in San Francisco, that's where I'm located now. I felt like, wow, if I don't work for a startup at some point in my life, why even bother being here, right? I kind of had this idea that I had to work for a startup. So 20 years in public companies, like having a good time, happy to be there. And I decided, I'm gonna go to startup now. So I really, kind of disrupted myself is the best way of putting it. I had a mentor that said, why are you staying? Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you staying because you're afraid? And I went, whoa, like, I don't think that word, like admitting you're afraid of something is actually a really difficult thing to do. And I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing. I'm staying because I'm afraid of what would happen if I left the comforts of a publicly traded company. And I went to a really great startup that focused on mortgage technology. About 35 billion in loans we're going through in a month. And I worked on a rebrand there. And I really enjoyed myself. It was a nice departure from what I was used to. And, when COVID started to hit, I started to really think through, and that's when I found out about eXp and eXp World Holdings. It was one, because I'd spent some time in that startup environment, I started to look at different business models. So I kind of think everything happens for a reason. And around April, people reached out to me. And this is, I've been in my house for about a month, sheltered since, March. And I learned more and more about this company, and it just became something that I would say changed my life is the best way of putting it, because it was so different and so exciting. And I think we always say, like, if you look at 20 years ago, what you think you're going to do in school isn't necessarily what you end up doing. I didn't think I'd be working as an avatar in a public. I mean, I actually probably wouldn't have thought that even last year or the year before, to be fair. But it's one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I feel really at home.
It's really cool. I'm sorry, go ahead, Renee.
We are so glad to welcome you. And in the time that you've been a part of the family, it's just absolutely clear that you are taking it, like you're just in it. You've immersed yourself. And one thing that we find to have such value as agents in the company is the company's always asking for our feedback. And right away, that was your approach, is to get down and roll up your sleeves and ask for all the feedback, which is much appreciated. That's how we grow.
Well, and I love seeing, what I was going to say is I love seeing your excitement about our company and the platform, because, I've been here a long time. Renee's been here a long time, and we still have that excitement. But to see somebody come in on a leadership role that didn't know a lot about our company before and really immerse yourself into, even while you're considering, right, before you had the offer, but immerse yourself into our world and be so excited. And you just hit the ground running when you jumped in. I mean, Renee is so right. You're asking for feedback, and not just a sampling of feedback. I mean, you've already got lots of communications going out to the entire 31,000 agents and truly wanting their feedback and truly championing change and involvement, if you will, like evolving what we've already been doing. Even though as a startup and doing stuff that nobody's ever done, there's still that opportunity. And I love to see how excited you are about that.
I'll tell you an observation I made, and it only took me about a week to figure this out, that one, I didn't necessarily have a ton of preconceived notions in terms of what information I was going to get, what data I was going to find. So I knew I had to do my own primary research. I knew I had to ask people and ask a large. So, we did a study, even last week, my week, I think 4 or 5 here, we did a really good marketing study. And it became very apparent to me as we were doing the study and asking for voice of agent, right? That one, the agents are some of the best marketers in the entire world, right? So what's unique is we have this community of the brightest marketers I've ever met, period, bar none. And, 30,000 plus of them, right? And so it's really fun to be able to kind of harness and unleash that collective intelligence. That's one of the things that probably excites me the most.
So being that you're mentioning strong marketers, Courtney, I have a bit of a soapbox, and I'll admit it, that I've seen in my time as a realtor a huge gap for many in the industry who don't understand the gravity of the responsibility we have as realtors. Let's face it, we wear a lot of hats. And so one of the things that often falls by the wayside is a misconception that, let's just use one example, putting a property on the MLS makes you a marketer in the sale of that transaction, which it doesn't. And so it does become a skill set that over time you have to learn as a realtor. Is we have to understand how to market the sale of our properties. What if we dig in and get a little logistical, what does the marketing for real estate agents look like in today's day and age? I mean, we're in a different environment now. How do we approach it?
I think there's two fundamentals that are critical, and maybe actually probably three, but I'll focus on two for now. One is being able to know and own your brand, right? As if I think about the house I'm sitting in now that I bought, we couldn't even get into it. It was turquoise. It was really a hot mess, but we bought it sight unseen because it was very difficult in this market to find a property. And the real estate agent that we worked with, she went to bat for us, right? She went actually to the owner of the home who'd lived there for 50 years and presented us. It wasn't for sale, and basically got us into our home, our first home in San Francisco. So she had a brand, and she had like a level of responsibility that is really impactful. The one thing that I would say we didn't necessarily get into, but I'm seeing now, because that was 5 years ago, is absolutely a critical need, is everything's digital, right? You have to have digital marketing chops. So I think, the brand is extremely important. And if people don't know their brand, there's actually a really easy exercise to figure it out. If you were to say, what's your personal brand, you find 10 people that you know well enough to know that they're going to give you the right answer. You ask them one question, 3 words to describe me. When you get those words back, you will find out there'll be some common themes there. Now, the choice is, do you like what those words are? Like, do those resonate with you, or do you need to change some of those perceptions? Because it's really around perception. And I think the agents do a good job of understanding their brand, their company's brand, the broker brand, and really melding that together in a way that is significant for them and for their customers and clients.
Well, with being uncomfortable comes positive change. So just because you hear the positive and you're getting some of the negative, some of that negative is what you really need to grow. I mean, I'm thinking about what you're saying, put that out there. And I've seen people do this, like on Facebook or social media. Give me 3 words to describe, me. What would you say? I don't know that I would really want to do that, because that scares me to death, right? But
yeah.
To be fair, I mean, that's where the change comes from. That's where the positive comes from. And, Renee's talking about marketing these homes and marketing our clients to the best of our ability. That's their biggest asset. You got your home because of that. But we also have to not only know how to market our clients well, but we have to know how to market ourselves well. And so you make a really good point. How we're perceived in the marketplace, how we're perceived in our own world, in our own office is one thing. Like, I might think I'm one person in one light, and then you go out in the marketplace and it might be completely different. And so really understanding that, I mean, you're going to get me out of my comfort zone, because I'm going to stretch myself a little bit after this conversation to really try and revamp some of that. But we're also having to market ourselves. So in this day and age, I mean, I think we talked about grace. We're having to have a little bit of grace with ourselves and others. But we also have to have that almost it factor. So what are some things from a marketing standpoint for real estate agents that they can do in this day and age to differentiate ourselves from the others, with COVID and pandemic and everything else that's going on in the world?
This is something, it almost pains me to say it, because I think it should be table stakes, but it bears mentioning. It's being authentic, right? I mean, people can tell. It doesn't matter if you're an avatar or not an avatar. People can tell when they're connecting with the real you, right? Yeah. So I think one is being, irreverently yourself, right? Just being yourself, like we mentioned. I think this particular show is a really good example of that. We're all sitting in different places, we're connecting, we're having a genuine conversation that's not scripted, right? This is a conversation. Right. I think that's really important. Having and managing your own brand is one thing, but if you don't have a level of self-awareness, right, in terms of how you can add value and how you can connect with people, that's going to be very difficult to be successful.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most exciting things about the opportunity of having a career in real estate, is that through that authenticity, there's so many avenues in which you can be successful as a realtor, right? Yes. You love door knocking. So door knocking speaks to you and that fills your tank. Go at it. You're going to do great, right? You love to convert online leads. That speaks to you. As long as it's your authentic self and it's your vehicle that you're choosing that really fills your tank, I think that the world is really our oyster, and that's why this career is so magical. It's consistency and good habits, though, is what carries you through no matter which path you choose.
I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Not only that, but that's one of the things that makes eXp so magical, right? I mean, we have the opportunity to brand ourselves. eXp is an amazing platform. But when we have the ability, unlike not that other companies are bad, they're all just different models and everybody's going to be drawn to a different model. But one of the things I truly loved about eXp is Glenn Sanford told us people aren't going to do business with you because of what your brand is. People are going to do business with you because they know, like, and trust you, right? And so as agents, just like Renee said, I'm not going to ever door knock. I mean, that's never, if you told me that's the only way to be successful, I'd be like, hi, I'm going to go get a job down at,
not for me, right?
Yeah. But that's the great thing about what eXp allows us to do too, is we can market ourselves. Our personalities can come through. Our authenticity can come through. And so it's been a lot of fun, but I also love that you're watching all of that and you're taking that all in, because the platform that supports us and supports our own brand is critical, right? And so that's where you're coming in, and new set of eyes and no preconceived notions at all, because you didn't know much about us. And that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, the more I look at the brand and really the dynamics of the company, it's agent-led, it's agent-centric. And when I think about brands, and there's a lot of connection here, your brand is hero. That's what people are engaging with, right? If you look at, the brand for, eXp Realty, it's complementary, it's foundational, it provides credibility, but at the same time, you guys are what it's all about. People are trying to connect with you and they trust you, and trust is more important now probably than ever before.
Yeah. So talk about that, Courtney. You're coming on and you're taking on a big animal. I mean, we've had our branding for 10 years, and you're coming in, and how does that look like? What does that look like? And how does that work? I mean, this is not just one state or a region. I mean, you have to look at our branding and our impact on a statewide level, on a citywide level, on a statewide level, on a national level, on a global level. I mean, there's so many things to take into account, different cultures, different perceptions. I mean, that to me seems a little bit overwhelming, but you seem to be taking it on like head on.
It's very fun right now. And I think it will continue to be, because it's something that really intrigues me. I can take the last 20 years of experience and I will tell you, obviously some of it's applicable, but I'm not using the same playbook. I mean, this is one where I really have to start from scratch and say, okay, I've got to challenge almost every assumption I had, or assumption people even in this company had. This morning I was connected with Michael Valdez, who leads, our international operations. We were talking about Canada, and I'm always asking, like, what would happen if I did the opposite of this? Like, what if I just did the opposite? What would happen? Typically when you brand a public company, there's a smaller group of people. It's very secretive. It's very closed. It's very controlled. That's not how we're going to do it, right? We're going to do it in a much more dynamic way and let our agents have a voice in terms of the look and the feel and the tone of the company, because they are the company, right? That concept would have really freaked me out, a few years ago. But you have to remember, it's a different environment. And this company is unlike any other company I've worked with or for. It is absolutely unique. And so the things that maybe have got me to this company aren't going to be the things that take this company and you guys and us to the next level. So you have to really flex some different muscles or make some different muscles. And mine right now is challenging the norm, asking, why are we doing things this way? Is it just that it's always been done? Or is there, is there a specific reason, like, a legal or a regulatory type reason, which I obviously respect. But what propels me is the excitement, the energy of the people I'm around, right? We met, a couple of weeks ago, right? And we already are exchanging ideas and thinking about how to better the company. That's great. It's a level of connection that you simply do not have elsewhere.
You've said some pretty powerful things that are resonating with me, and I think are really worthy of repeating because it's applicable to all business and all people, regardless of your level of the business in real estate, certainly. And that is, what brought you here is not going to get you there, right? And so you have to continue to focus on that. But I love what you just said about, well, what would happen if I did the opposite, right? Flip it up and down. That's a really powerful question. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but it's almost like, okay, we'll get rid of fear or preconceived notions of what has been. It doesn't mean it has to be that way, but what does happen if we do the opposite? It's a good exercise, I think. That's smart.
I love ideas for that reason, because I truly don't think there's a bad idea. I think there's ideas that lead to other ideas and ideas that you go, what if I did the opposite of that, right? So it's worth collecting and getting input from really everyone that wants to partake in this exercise. It really is. If somebody has a point of view, I want to take it in. I want to look at it. I want to see if this makes sense. And because, like I said, of the structure of this company and the fact that there's really no fear when you're an avatar, right? I shouldn't say no fear, but it's definitely dialed down. I hear voices from across the entire company and globe with some remarkable ideas that lead to other ideas that get us to the point now where we have a lot of confidence that we are doing the right thing, that we have the right business model, and our growth is just, another testament or, kind of proof point, if you will.
Well, look at eXp.
When
and that came out as an idea. But I mean, Glenn had an idea, right? He was faced with a challenge. He was faced with adversity. He was faced with a downward market, and he had an idea. And he said, there's a better way to do this. How can we all win and come out of this stronger, right? And he didn't just come up with everything all on his own. He surrounded himself with people that were forward thinking. And that's what I love about our leadership, because they're always pushing the envelope a little bit and saying, what if we tried something? They're not afraid of trying something. They're not afraid of change. And so when you come in now and you're like, well, what if we do something opposite? Like, let's try. I mean, we might make mistakes and stumble along the way, but that's how we're going to get better. That's pretty fun. I mean, to be a part of that. And it's exciting as an agent to know that our leadership has that kind of mentality and mindset in pushing us forward, because we're doing things nobody's ever done, right? So why not try all these different things? Because it's not like we're being compared to anybody else or anything else, and they can't say, well, you're doing it the wrong way. Well, nobody's done it.
It's true. And when you think about someone like Glenn, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, he is in a way a divergent thinker, right? People are moving this way and he's thinking about this way. And that is a part of the culture that I think he gives everybody the freedom to take those sorts of risks, which is very unique for somebody who started a company, who's leading from the front, to say, okay, you guys have, you have my trust.
It's important. And I also think that no matter what you're doing as you're testing and collaborating, is that you always have as your foundation the core values, right? And so what I love about the culture that we have is the core values come through all the time. It's not something we talk about. We literally have it on our wall. We literally talk about it at all the team meetings. It is at the forefront. And when you have that as your North Star, if you will, then it really sets you up for success to, even when you make mistakes, fail forward.
It's true. I think this company is very encouraging and at the same time kind of forgiving, right? I heard that word earlier. We're doing the best we can. I know we're all doing the best we can. And to have that embraced, right, and have that celebrated is an important part of our culture, like you meant. It's a cultural norm. And the values resonated with me, day one, when I saw collaboration. there's no room for someone who is not going to be collaborative anymore, right? There's not a time and space. That is one of the most critical leadership skills I believe someone can have, which is understanding and hearing all of these diverse voices and really thinking through collectively, checking in. I mean, that's how you become successful, is teamwork, right? Working together and collaborating.
So let me ask you, since you've come, I'm just fascinated that when people don't know a lot about us, I love that, right? And then they come in and their eyes are open. How has productivity changed for you from old style corporate type roles, right? I mean, because obviously in marketing, there's lots of meetings, lots of face-to-face, lots of exchanging of ideas. But now you play like the pandemic's not even here, right? I mean, obviously all these companies are having to adjust due to the pandemic, but regardless if the pandemic was here or not, eXp is still moving forward and thriving. As Glenn says, we were prepared. I mean, nobody wants to prepare for a pandemic, but we were prepared. How is your productivity changing as you're adjusting to this new style? And are you, I mean, I can only imagine the different voices and people around the country and the globe that you're able to interact with that you would have never known or heard from before. So what does that look like for you?
One, it's personally very energizing for me. You know, you guys can tell I get energy from being around people and hearing ideas. It's also very liberating. I hesitate to share this because I don't want it to change, but a good portion of how I communicate with my team, with Glenn, with others on the leadership team, and with all the agents is through Workplace, right? Yeah. It's not through email. I mean, before it was completely flipped. You know, I'm looking through, hundreds of emails a day and, kind of ime jail, right? You wake up and you're stressed out automatically. It doesn't work like that. This place is way more agile. It's more on the fly, and it tries to, I would say, as a company, be very proactive, right? It's got to be a very proactive type movement. So the traditional methods of connecting, like the email, right? It doesn't work like that. Here you connect, be more of an instant messenger time style. It's real time. You bob, you weave, change your meetings around, right? You have priorities. So it's very dynamic, the way you function in this company. I have, if I look at just the marketing team that I'm working with right now, I have people anywhere from Hawaii to New York, right? And then there's obviously global counterparts. So you go, wow, this is liberating. You can liberate yourself from what were channels before that were like shackles, right? Like the email jail I mentioned, and you can literally work pretty much anywhere, right? And I think that is a huge value prop for people that want to be able to be self-starters, that are collaborative, and that have a lot of passion for what they do.
Well, tap into a talent pool that's not geographically bound, right? I mean, that's another reason that I love the amount of support that we have as an agent, whether you're an individual agent or like myself or Elizabeth, who have been more seasoned in the industry. The support has been phenomenal, and the talent in that support is not bound to any geographic location. So it's such a
I was going to brag on your team for a minute, because I mean, you're still getting to know everybody, I know, and you may already recognize this, but you have an amazing team. I mean, even all the value that they add for us behind the scenes and in the marketing center, and just the social media and just everything that they bring to the table. And they're just awesome people. We've gotten to know them over the years too, but I think you're really fortunate. They're fortunate to have you, but you're really fortunate to walk into a team that has so much talent, that gets it and is ready to kind of put their minds together and make it happen for everybody involved.
You're right. They're amongst the brightest marketers I've ever worked with. And it's a very different environment. I really didn't know anyone in here. People I've known since April. So it is a lot of exploring. And to your point, one, I appreciate the compliment for the team. They have a really strong work ethic, and they really care. And when you match that with talent, it's a pretty good recipe for results.
They care for sure. Oh my goodness. I have to echo that sentiment. The marketing team that you now call your team is just second to none. I'm so grateful for each and every one of them. So absolutely. So Courtney, we've talked a little bit about, obviously, with COVID and all of the things that are going on in our world. As a team leader, I even struggle at times to lead with as much confidence as possible over this circumstance. What tips do you have or strategies should agents think about, whether it's how they're approaching social media or just the marketing as a whole, when we're all faced with such trying times?
I always got like 1, 2, 3 in my mind. I'm prioritizing. I think that's one thing I would say is you want to be thoughtful, really in any role, but especially when you're an agent and you're interacting with clients and other prospective people that may be attracted to our company. You are the face of this company. And so I think being able to prioritize and really know what's important to you in your business and have that be what you focus on is extremely important. It's very easy to have your day kind of get blown up along the way, right? Things happen all the time, and the things you meant to get done are really no longer an option sometimes. You're running out of time. That's the one thing that we can't, buy more of. We can't buy more time. And so one is making sure that there are clear priorities that you think are the most important, right? I think that's key. The other thing is one that I'm not sure if people would agree or even maybe appreciate, but it's something that I've observed. The concept of simplification. It is easy when you're a larger company and you're growing this exponentially to create levels of complexity, right? And I think that's something I try to do. I always try to look at everything holistically and go, how can I simplify this? Because the more complexity you create, right, whether it be channels or like kind of budding priorities, the more difficult it is for you to really manage your life, your time, your business. So it's that prioritization, which is very related to simplifying things. That's what my point of view is. I'd love your point of view.
I got to go back to the authenticity is, if we look at even Elizabeth and I starting Leadership from the Heart, we just had to stand up and say there are some answers we don't have based on the questions you're asking. What we do know, though, is how to collaborate. And we are a part of a network of amazing people. And when I say network, I mean whether it's just our fellow colleagues in the industry who can all be leaders, and we are all leaders in our own way. We just wanted to tap in and continue to collaborate. But I think the key is being authentic to say, I don't always have all the answers, but I know where we can work together to come up with some really great ones.
Makes sense.
Well, and we all lead differently. And that's why when we did start this accidentally and organically, we were reaching out to people that lead differently because we learned that way. And it's, okay, how would you handle this situation? And I mean, it's grown, and I've grown as a person, just all the people I've learned from, just having y'all on the show as our guest. Wow, I didn't think of it that way. Or I wonder if I could tweak my approach a little bit, what would happen, right? So that's what really happened with us, just reaching out to those who lead differently, which makes us all stronger. Because again, you're not you're not so hyper local. You're not just relying on the people in your immediate circle. What we've done is there's no borders. We've opened that opportunity to have dialogue and conversations, and some of our most respected and dearest people and friends are all over the country. And so it makes us just better. And again, this is an unexpected gift of time, if you will, and it allows us to really kind of, instead of multitask and be all over everywhere at every time, like really focus in on those conversations and work on ourselves and what we can do to build others up.
Yeah, spot on. I agree with you completely.
So Courtney, let's get your crystal ball out.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I like
it's
that.
back there in the kitchen somewhere, right?
It's not scripted and you don't know what we're going to talk about. Anything goes.
I love it.
Let's look out 12 months, 24 months, hey, even 36 months. What are you most excited for out there on the horizon?
What I'm most excited about, and I'm going to take a beat because I really want to kind of think this one through. It's about being able to be very thoughtful and purposeful about our brand and our growth, right? I think it's very difficult to scale an organization when it grows this quickly. So I think preparing ourselves for scale and looking out 12 and 36 months ahead, that's something we have to start planning for. And we have to think, we have to plan on where we're going to be then, not where we are now, right? So you have to be proactive. I believe we will be one of the strongest global brands in real estate, period. I have no doubts about that. I see that coming. I believe we'll be one of the fastest growing, and I think we'll be one of the best places to work.
That gets me excited. That gets me
now, okay, your turn. I want to know what you guys see in your crystal ball.
Oh my goodness. Well, Courtney, you're the first guest to turn it all around.
I know. I'll let Renee go first. You put me on the spot before, so now it's my turn. Renee, you're first.
Oh my gosh. Well, many realtors know that that's a very easy answer, and that our crystal ball is often a little foggy. We're not sure, but we love what we do, and have never been happier to serve in our community. So the future is bright as far as opportunity to continue to grow personally and professionally. And that's all one could ever ask for, is the opportunity to continue to grow and learn. That
resonates. I agree with that.
Yeah, for me, I would say, I won't say the same because that's kind of a boring answer, but I agree with Renee.
What?
No, I'm saying I don't know. I agree with you. That's boring. I'm not saying you're boring at all. You're definitely no, but for me, I mean, it's interesting because when I joined for eXp, it was for a very different reason. But as I look back, hindsight's 2020, and I've seen year over year growth, and year over year processes getting better, and year over year the way I do business completely different. And last year I was like, I'll never top that. Well, this year I'm well ahead of what I did last year. And that's really not my goal, but it's what I'm learning from others and building my business and my brand. But for me, my biggest goal is, yes, I want to continue to be successful. And successful is not a monetary thing for me, right? Success to me is how many people can I impact? How many people can I help build up? I want to continue to help build other people's businesses up while I'm building mine. And I want to help be a catalyst for our story. I mean, marketing, my background's marketing as well. I mean, it's all about the story. And we have an amazing story as a company, as individual agents, just as a community. And your marketing team does the eXp Life really well. And it gets to talk about the stories of all these people, and it makes it more human for all of us, right? And we're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing and relatable. So I want to just be a part of us continuing to tell that story and our story getting stronger so that people line up, or avatars line up all down the street and around the corner because they want to be a part of what we have, right? I mean, I went to Texas, I've talked about this in the past, but I went to Texas A&M. And we had a saying, from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. And from the inside looking out, you can't explain it. I want our story to be so strong in the coming years. We don't have to explain it. Our actions speak volumes, and people want to be a part of that and our growth and our community and help moving us forward. That's my crystal ball, my big picture.
And that's powerful. I mean, talking about building people up, building companies up, it is about people, right? It really is. That's why we do what we do. We do it, so that we can, take care of our families, so that we can take care of our teams. And I love that concept because, it works on so many different levels, this concept of building up. And, I know this session is about, the leading from the heart, right? I think that really embodies leading from the heart when you say, build it up.
Yeah. And that's what our people are. I mean, once you get to know more of them and more of the agents around the country, you're going to recognize, oh my gosh, there's a common theme. We truly live out our core values. And so it's a special place. I mean, our model's not a fit for everybody, but the people that resonate and are attracted to us, they are the right fit. They know that they belong here.
Absolutely.
Well, is it time, Elizabeth? Is it time for the question?
Two last questions before. I mean, we could talk to you all day, which
I know.
We're excited to get to know you more in the coming days, months, and years. But we've got two other questions. I'll take one. Renee, you take the other. Okay. You may or may not know this since you're head of marketing now, but one of the major hashtags that we like to use around the company is hashtag eXp proud. What 3 words, because you alluded to the 3 words before, what 3 words would you say makes you hashtag eXp proud?
My gosh, that is I'm proud, hashtag proud of the innovation of the company. It's around innovation and the spirit of collaboration. So hashtag spirit of collaboration, hashtag innovation may sound a little bit generic, but it's one of the first things that pops into my mind when I think of this company and challenging the norm. But it's about that spirit of collaboration. It's about the people.
Love it.
Great question.
That. Okay, so now you got to be on the edge of your seat because this one is a big one. Okay. No pressure, Courtney. What does leadership from the heart mean to you?
Two parts. One is really being able to walk the walk, right? I think people have to be an example for other people. It's really disingenuous when someone kind of tells, a group of people or preaches a certain way and says, okay, we need to do this. And then they act, contrary to that, right? That creates a lot of challenges with credibility. So I think you have to really walk the walk. If you're asking people to do things or you're working on something and it's not something that you would roll up your sleeves and do yourself, that I have a challenge with, right? I'm not a big fan of hierarchy. I'm really not. I like being able to work together as a team and for voices to be equal. So one is walking the walk. I think the other point is, you're going to listen, you're going to hear a lot from people, and that's how you learn and you interact with them. But lending your voice to those that are marginalized or worse, discriminated against is one of the most important things that you can do as a leader, as a person. I don't know if there's anything more important.
And just like that, with the real world, it happens. Courtney, those are such valuable points to bring up. And as leaders, those that we are leading and pouring into, they're watching. And we have to remember every single day that we can't just say that this is the way it is. We have to live it. And so I love that you point that out as such an important part of the equation when you're leading.
Thank you.
We are so excited that not only having you at the company, but that you came on the show with us today and just shared a little bit more about you. I cannot wait. When I say that, I mean, I just cannot wait to see what comes of it, not only from a company standpoint, but just also getting to know you. So thank you for taking your time with us today, all the way in California. I mean, we're really covering the states, Renee. I mean, we've got California, Texas, and Florida represented here, right?
Covered.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time to share with us, and we're excited to see what happens.
Hey, likewise, I appreciate being here today.
Thank you, Courtney. Look forward to continuing to get to know you, and thank you for everything you're doing in your role. It's much appreciated.
Well, likewise, thank you both.
And to reach out. We are always here to help. So We will see you around the world.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Take care, ladies.